Who are we? It's a question in the hearts of many Americans, struggling to make sense of a country torn by political division, economic instability, and cultural conflict. David Giffels, a celebrated author and professor of English at the University of Akron, sought answers by exploring how his own state of Ohio, the proverbial bellwether and battleground state, has been grappling with that very question. In his latest book, Barnstorming Ohio to Understand America, Giffels recounts his recent tour of a uniquely diverse state that, from its smokestacks to stubble plains, is in many ways a cross-section and microcosm of the country. He speaks with factory workers and farmhands, politicians and poets, startup brewers and booksellers, taking the pulse of Ohio to diagnose the nation. In the opening pages of the book, Giffels writes that, in anticipation of the upcoming presidential election, his goal was to pursue an important question of identity at one of the most critical junctures in modern American history by letting Ohioans speak for themselves about their lives and communities, something that, despite media attention each election year, happens less often than you might think. Here, Giffels speaks for himself, shares his experiences in writing the book, and what he has learned. David, thank you for being here.
Thanks for talking to me about it.
Early in the book, you describe yourself as a, quote, lifelong, doggedly committed citizen of a state that's often easier to leave than to love. You are one who has spent most of his adult life thinking and writing about Ohio. What is it that you love about Ohio, and specifically Akron, and what keeps you here?
You know, what kept me here when I was a younger person and didn't have to stay was just a sense of home. His family was here, the things that I liked to do were here, and there was a comfort here. But as I've grown older and written about it, thought about it, what I found is that those reasons are still valid, but on a much higher plane, which is to say that more globally, Ohio, Akron, and places like this appeal to people because, first of all, they're authentic. They seem, they have earned their scars, and they have a patina that's not fake. That's, you know, the dark smoke brick is real factory smoke on that brick. But there's also, I think, a sense of being needed in a place that has been through hard times and that a lot of people have left. Those who stay can make a real difference, and that's not lip service. Like, you can contribute in a way that's necessary and that you're rewarded by in lots of different ways.
What are some of the features of Ohio that make it an all-American buffet, to use one of your phrases, a state that is so ripe for the picking by political pollsters, for example?
Yeah, I think there are two things. One is its location. Ohio is, as I write in the book, it's the end of the East and the beginning of the Midwest. It's the end of the North and the beginning of the South. It's kind of an intersection of the country in that sense, but it's also, as I also write in the book, it's not any more American than any other place, but it is completely American. And the way one of the things that I lean on in the book is something that the Bliss Institute writes about, and other journalists and analysts have written about, which is the notion of the five Ohio's. And what the five Ohio's refers to is the fact that there are five distinct regions in the state. There's the Northeast, where we live, which is industrial, post-industrial, very urban, densely populated. Mm-hmm. There is the Southeast, or the Southwest, surrounding Cincinnati, which is much more southern, more conservative. There's the Northwest, which is very rural. It's kind of the beginning of what feels more like the true Midwest. There's Central Ohio, which is dominated by Columbus, which is a growing urban, exurban kind of city, and it also has the third largest university in the country. And then there's the Southeast, which is Appalachia. So it's five distinct regions, each of which has its own personality that mirrors some aspect of the American personality that's different from the other. Each one has its own sort of media personality. Each one it votes in a different way. And so if you take those five examples and you analyze them, you can see most of America represented here in a way that, as the Bliss Institute asserts, no other state does.
And how did you determine which places, cities specifically to visit, and which people you wanted to talk to?
Yeah, I drew a very crude map of Ohio at the very beginning of this project because I wanted to see where was the intersection of my own curiosity, because I think any writing project needs to be driven by questions, and the intersection of my own curiosity and what I knew or thought was already out there. So there were certain stories I wanted to tell. I wanted to tell the story of race in America. I wanted to tell the story of women as they're evolving as part of the electorate and as candidates in new ways. Wanted to tell the story of opioids. Wanted to tell the story of cities struggling with economic problems and so forth. I wanted to go to farms, especially last year, because farmers were in the spotlight because of the trade war with China, and also because of the historic weather, which goes to climate change. And so there were all these themes that I wanted to touch on, and it didn't matter what theme I thought of. There was a place in Ohio, I could find a place in Ohio that said, this will tell that story. Like, it was sort of proving my thesis that it's completely American, and so every American theme that I wanted to find, I was able to find.